Well, I think every March it comes down to this, where there's that one random team in the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight, sometimes even the Final Four, that you're left scratching your head like, who are they? It was Mason all those years ago. It was VCU all those years ago. More recently, it was the first time Loyola Chicago made the run. What other mid-majors have made those runs where you're just left scratching your head?
There's been some fun ones. Northern Iowa had one a few years back. Remember they beat Kansas. It was like Ali Farouk had that really clutch shot. There always seems to be, yeah, you're right. There's one Cinderella, right, so to speak,
Yep.
that makes that run. And I think you like too, trying to pinpoint who those teams could be prior to March.
Yes. So that's what we're going to do here. First, I want to put up a couple parameters. Gonzaga is not a mid-major.
Okay, well, I'll cross them off my list. They were one of my big ones. It was them. I had them. I had Kansas. Any Pac-12 school, to me, is a mid-major.
Do you consider the Big East a mid-major conference?
I think you could pick a team in there and tell me they're kind of like a sleeper if it's not Villanova or like UConn. I would give it, even though it's
off my list.
Although you can't. I mean, like, I don't think Providence is like a mid-major, but I think maybe they would be an interesting candidate of like, I think they're going to make a Final Four and they're legit, you know?
Yeah. Okay. I think we should then kind of separate it then, because what mid-major who's like in a one bid league, maybe we'll put it like that. We'll put that parameter down. A 1 to 2 bid league, because the Big East is like a 5 bid league. So I want you to start things off. I have a couple, but who's your number one mid-major team that's going to make a run come March?
I like some of the A10s, but I do think they might be 3-bid. Do you think they'd be 3-bid? I don't know.
I would consider A10 mid-major though. Like,
okay,
we're already breaking the parameters. I literally set up 15 seconds ago. But A10 is a mid-major program, mid-major conference.
They're on the fringe. So I think we've talked a lot about Davidson. They're an obvious one. The one that's actually really interesting to me and is rated the highest here on KenPom too is Dayton, because they had a really horrible start to the season. They were 1-3. They lost to UMass Lowell, Lipscomb, and Austin Peay, and it was like, all right, they're not good. Then they followed it up with wins over Miami, Kansas, and Belmont, which I feel like get better almost every day here. They also have a win over Virginia Tech, which looks really good. Assuming they're able to get in, I like the way they've played recently. I like that they're decent on both ends, maybe a little bit better defensively. I like Anthony Grant as a coach. I think they're a sneaky one that could make a run, and they're one that had a chance of winning legitimately a national title a couple years back if it wasn't for COVID. But I like them, and I like the A10 in general. I think there are some teams there. Maybe you could even look at like a St. Louis. But I'll say Dayton is one that I have my eye on, assuming they're able to get in, that I think could definitely be in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the A10. It is worth mentioning kind of what they are. They have Davidson, Dayton, VCU, St. Louis, St. Bonaventure, and Richmond. Mm-hmm. I know we were just ragging on St. Bonaventure at the beginning of the podcast, but all of those teams I just mentioned, I think have a real chance of winning the A10 and being a bid stealer. It depends on who wins it, but could be potentially a bid stealer.
Sure.
I think the A10 is going to be a really fun conference, a fun mid-major conference to keep an eye on as the season winds down and we go into conference tournament play. Mm-hmm. My number one team that I like, I don't know if you're going to be shocked by this, is Colorado State.
Yeah.
I've been high on Nico Medved. I really like David Roddy. And to me, a key in having a good mid-major that makes it far is having a player, like a guy. And it's kind of seems counterintuitive, because you would think if you have a guy, the other team would just game plan them out of it. But I mean, we've seen so many times. I'm trying to think of the Oral Roberts kid from last year, who was an absolute machine. Max Ashley, absolute machine. And you would think just game plan them out. And if they win their round of 64, you can get them out in the round of 32. But David Roddy's a 6'6" junior, big body, silky smooth jumper. Can just battle down low. And then on top of that, Colorado State is a battle-tested team. The Mountain West, kind of like the A10, is a really, really tough division. Wins over San Diego State, Fresno State, Boise State, Utah State, St. Mary's, Creighton. Bradley is kind of in a down year, but a pretty solid team over there in the Valley. So a lot of good wins over really formidable mid-major teams. And on top of that, They're an experienced team. They bring back one of the most minutes in terms of minutes continuity in the nation. They brought back 77.2% of their minutes from last season. I think Colorado State's a team to keep an eye on, depending on kind of their draw. If they get a good draw, they could. I think they can make an Elite Eight run.
Yeah, I think that wouldn't shock me all that much. They've certainly got that potential.
And the most important thing, you know who they have on their coaching staff?
Colorado State?
Yeah,
Who is this?
Farouk I'm mispronouncing his name terribly. The Northern Iowa guy who was
No way. They have Ali Farupanesh on
yeah.
the coaching staff.
Yep.
I didn't know that. That makes me like them a lot more. I will say you even broke it. I think your rule more than I did. That's like a 3+ bid league. Mountain West is loaded. So let's throw that rule out.
those parameters, they no longer exist. Mainly I was trying to get the fact of like Gonzaga we can't use.
Some of the
Big East, right. Some Big East teams we can't use. I'd even argue you can use like a WCC team that's not Gonzaga.
Fair enough. That's fair.
Mainly, I would argue maybe even not Big East teams because they're playing so many quadrant 1 games.
Mm-hmm.
Like the bottom of that league is still good enough to be like a quadrant 2, where the bottom of the WCC is Pacific, and that's what quad 4. No offense to Pacific, but all right. Who's your second team to keep an eye out for?
So there are a few conferences that kind of stand out. You look at there are a couple in like Conference USA that excite me a little bit.
Ooh.
So that's one to consider. The MAC kind of has a couple that excites me, but I'll go Colonial Athletic Association here.
Go CAA
because we watch a lot of CAA as JMU fans. Maybe a little less as the year has gone on.
Yeah.
I'm pretty high on Towson. Like going into the year, I was like, I don't know. I'm not sold on this team. 81 in KenPom right now. They're 19-7. They obviously have to win the conference tournament, so they're far from like a given to actually, earn this spot. I believe they have to restart a game against Delaware because there were like slippery floor conditions where they're down like 10 at the end of the year, which could affect like their seeding in the conference tournament because they're played a bunch of the game. They're already down 10 when they restart. But I like them a lot. They're playing pretty well. They're good offensively, a top 50 offense. Defensively, they're not horrible. They don't turn the ball over a lot, which I like. They record a bunch of offensive rebounds, shoot it well. They're top 70 in three-point shooting percentage. Like all that stuff to me sets up nicely for a team that can do some damage. They do kind of lack size a little bit, but Cam Holden is someone that is really good. You can make a case that he's the best player in the conference. I think Aaron Estrada for Hofstra has a pretty good case for that too. But I like Towson. I think Towson's a team that if they do get in, if they're like a 14 seed or a 15 seed, I think they could be sneaky dangerous from that spot and give someone a run because they can fill it up a little bit. It's obviously going to be a little bit matchup based. They're not necessarily my favorite mid-major, like make the Sweet 16, but they're one I would take an extra close look at depending on the matchup. If they do have a 14 or 15 seed, I wouldn't discount the possibility that they could destroy your bracket.
Yeah, there's always a CAA team, and this is my CAA bias showing. You know how you make 15 different brackets come March?
Yeah.
There's always my CAA upset bracket that is very similar to my main bracket, but the CAA team wins that first round. A few years in a row, it almost worked out when College of Charleston was really good and UNCW was really good with Kevin Keats. My second mid-major, and this one's a lot more on track. This one's a lot more of a mid-major. Murray State out of the Ohio Valley.
They're gross. I mean, they're like top 25. Like they're fringe. They're fringe. They're not. I don't know if they're sneaking up on people, but I hear you.
They aren't sneaking up on us. But if you asked Joe Blow, like the random college basketball person, he'd be like, you'd say Murray State, and he would say, "Oh, John Morant School." He wouldn't be, "Oh, one of the best teams in the country."
Aren't they ranked though? I feel like that gives them a little more national cred. They've definitely popped into the AP Top 25.
They have popped in. This is okay. I'll retract this one.
I think it still counts. They're 24-2. Like
I just wanted to bring up Murray State. This is an honorable mention. I'll bring up another one here quickly, but it's just worth mentioning that like a team like them, and they tend to have a good program, but just coming out of the Ohio Valley. That's so difficult, and they'll probably win two games, get to the Sweet 16, and then things might implode. I will say they haven't had, the murderer's row of a schedule. losses
Sure.
to Auburn and East Tennessee State. And I know that's the argument that Gonzaga always gets every year, so I'm not going to use it. It's just worth mentioning. So I guess my real second one, since Bennett isn't accepting of Murray State, this one might be a little bit more crazy, but I really, really like VCU.
Yeah, I wonder what they need to get in. That interests me a lot. But tell me about why you love the Rams.
I love them because of their defense. Yeah, their offense is absolutely abysmal. One of the worst offenses in the country, but they have the fifth best defense. And we all know what Shaka Smart created when he was at VCU, when he was in Richmond, Virginia. Havoc lives here. And now Mike Rhodes has kept that going at VCU. They still employ one of the toughest defenses to break. And in A10 play, they had a little bit of a slip up there against St. Bonaventure and Davidson. But since then, they've only lost one, and it was to Dayton. They beat up on bad teams, and with their defense, come March, win 2 games, they're in Sweet 16, and all of a sudden, the city starts getting behind them. That narrative starts getting built again. And I think all it takes is having one guy kind of catch fire that weekend. And I know there's a lot of ifs going on there, like you need this to happen and this to happen. But with a fantastic defense, we've seen it in March Madness before. Anything can happen. Are they going to make a Final Four run? Probably not, with an offense that's 267th most efficient in the country. But with that defense, they can pull off a couple wins and get an upset here and there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
what
I
do they
like
need
that.
to get in? That's a great question. I think they probably need to win the A10 or
I
win
think
out.
Yeah, they're probably gonna need something like that, right? So they got 5 games left on the schedule, and they've got some chances with St. Louis, St. Bonaventure, and Richmond to maybe build the resume a little bit there. But yeah, you maybe go 4-1 in those, have a good showing in the conference tournament. But they are a good team if they get in. I think that's kind of how I feel about the whole top of the A10. Is like if they get in, like even St. Bonaventure is kind of a fascinating one. They've won 3 in a row,
Yeah.
including 2 against St. Louis. I mean, their schedule down the stretch is reasonably manageable. If you can get through a bunch of those, I don't know, maybe you find a way to make a run and get yourself in there. And it's the team that we expected it to be at the beginning of the year. So, like, that's a good one. Dayton, I mentioned, is playing really well. You've talked about Davidson a lot on this podcast. That's a really good basketball team. So, probably a few NIT teams in there. But whoever does get in from the A10, I think, has a chance to be reasonably scary.
Okay, I have 2 more I want to share. You're next though, because I just gave you 2.
I'll hit you with the Chattanooga one.
Of
I've talked
course.
about them a ton. I want to make sure I throw them out here. They probably need to win their conference tournament, the Southern Conference, to get in.
SoCon, baby.
I still think they're better than everyone in the SoCon. I mean, you look at like Furman, who had a pretty good battle with them recently. Maybe they make a run at them, or VMI or
Yeah.
Wofford or someone. You could always be an upset. But like Chattanooga is the best team in the conference. They have a win over VCU on the road this year, best win of the year for them. Tough losses on the road to Belmont and Murray State. They haven't played necessarily a murderer's row, but they have 2 wins over Furman, a win over VCU. So some solid ones there. They're 22-5. They're pretty efficient on both ends. I like them because they defend the 3 really well, which I think has a chance to translate well to the NCAA tournament if they're in it. I like that they actually have some size. They have regular contributors, multiple guys, 2 guys who are 6'9", 250 and above, which I think helps them a little bit. So there's some size there. There's good guard play. I like what they have. I think some of it is going to depend maybe a little bit on health and who's available at the right time, but I think they're a well-coached team, and I think they're a team that has potential to win a game or 2 in the NCAA tournament if they get in.
You know who else is a really well-coached team?
Virginia.
Iona.
Yeah, Iona is a great one.
Mainly because Rick Pitino and the magic he has. They're probably going to have to win the MAC just because they don't have any good wins outside of Alabama. Right. Like you look at their Ken Palm and it's all triple digits. And they're going to finish out the season Fairfield, Canisius, Rider, Manhattan, Quinnipiac. The highest ranked team there is Fairfield at 213th in Ken Palm. But kind of what you were saying before, they are really well coached. They have a really good, or they have a above average offense and above average defense. They play at a solid tempo. I just think Rick Pitino will have his team going, and they've already played Alabama, Belmont, and Kansas. Granted, they are 1-2 in those games, but earlier on in the season, took down App State, took down Hofstra, took down Liberty, all mid 100 kind of Ken Palm teams. They beat bad teams and they lose to good teams. But in March, can they put together 2-3 wins? I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, I like that one. My final one, I'll throw in a Conference USA. I think whoever wins the league, assuming it's
Charlotte.
UAB or North Texas.
Oh,
Yeah, Charlotte maybe. UAB or North Texas, whichever of those teams can get out of that conference, I think have a legitimate chance to do some damage. I kind of feel like at times like UAB is maybe the more complete team, but
yeah.
their resume is a little more confusing where they have some losses that you wouldn't necessarily expect, where they've lost to Old Dominion and Marshall in the last couple of weeks. But like they played West Virginia, lost by 6. They have a neutral site 2-point loss to San Francisco. They lost by 3 to South Carolina. Got a win over St. Louis on the road. Like they have some really good wins. And then you look at North Texas, a solid team that has some competitive losses. They have a win over Drake. They have very close losses to Buffalo and Miami, and then a competitive one against Kansas. So, I mean, I like those teams. I think whoever gets in from Conference USA of those two, if someone's like a surprise winner of the conference tournament, I'm not as strong on this. But if you get North Texas or UAB in there, I think Conference USA has legitimate chance to do a little bit of damage. That's kind of one of the conferences. Them, the SoCon, because of Chattanooga. Then you look at the A10. That's a conference I like, and then the CAA potentially could have one that I think's a good threat. Like the Sun Belt to me, the more I think about it, the Ivy League, like those leagues, I just don't see them winning games. Like I like some of the Ivy League teams at the top. I think Yale, Penn, Princeton, whatever, they've done some nice things in conference play, but just don't really see that happening. Then you look at like the MAC, the Metro Atlantic Athletic, where you got Iona if they get out. Yeah. So there are a couple of conferences that have kind of circled where it's like, all right, I like a couple of those teams. Maybe same with the shorter MAC with Ohio and Toledo.
Yeah.
So something to keep an eye on there is that, if you have two teams at the top, maybe you pick the league to win one. But yeah, kind of hard right now to know exactly who's going to be those Cinderellas, just because these teams are good enough to win games. But there's going to be some of these that we've mentioned that are battling for like an NIT title because they just draw the short end of the stick in the conference tournament.
Yeah. I think Conference USA, La Tech is a team to watch, mainly because of Kenny Lofton. Kind of what I was saying back with Colorado State. They have that one guy, and he just has to play really good for a few days, and he can potentially make a really good run for La Tech. My last one, and this one's tough because their path is extremely difficult to make the NCAA tournament. And after this 3-game losing streak, including getting blown out on the road at Viejas against San Diego State, Utah State, maybe I've just drank the Kool-Aid of Ryan Odom and like just following along with them loosely this season.
Yeah.
I feel like they have the pieces. They're one of the better offenses. They have a top 100, top 85 defense. Brandon Horvath is really good. Justin Bean is really good. And they have a lot of other guys who can play basketball at a high level and shoot the three really well. And I think that might be where I kind of drink the Kool-Aid. It's how I got so into Alabama too. They can shoot the three so well. And when you do that, you can beat anyone. But when you're cold, like they have been since February 8th, where they've lost 3 games, a 2-point OT loss to Wyoming, a terrible loss at home against Nevada, absolutely terrible. And then this loss against San Diego State, it really doesn't matter how they finish the season, because regardless of how they finish the season, they have to win the Mountain West tournament to get in. If they do get in, they are a bona fide bid stealer, and I think they can win a game or two, but it's going to be a big uphill battle for them to get in.
Yeah, that's an interesting team, and they're in the bottom 20 in Ken Pom in luck. They have 6 losses of 3 points or fewer. Like there are a few games there where if something goes their way, you look like they had that 2-point loss to St. Mary's. It would have been like a huge win. An Air Force loss that was really low scoring and close. You mentioned they've played Wyoming twice, and both of them are 2-point losses. Like that's tough to swallow. They have a few opportunities where they probably could have made a run at it. And now, like you're saying, yeah, they either need to, have a crazy finish where they win like their next 6 or something where they win the conference tournament. But it's still a good team, I think.
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, and with Ken Pom, I can't tell if they have another year of eligibility. they should return a solid amount of guys, but it is a shame that it's just been such an up and down season. And they're a hot and cold team. They have a 4-game losing streak, then they win like 6, and then they have a 3-game losing streak. It's just tough to get anything going like that.
Absolutely.